All right, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Integrity Racing Show. I'm your host, Todd Thomas. We're joined tonight by League Administrator owner Jacob Fife, who is hard at work updating the truck chase grid for everybody. We'll hope to get
Very
that
hard.
up. Hey, it sounds like they're ready to go. So we'll get that ready to go for later in the show. And we're also joined tonight by resident college graduate, recent college graduate, Kaleb Isenhour, who will join us a little bit and talk about his successes so far this year. Somebody that's won both in the Cup Series and the Truck Series here in the Rookie of the Year. We'll also update everybody on the Cup Series as we close in on that chase cutoff here in Richmond in a couple of weeks. They can get prepared for the race at Darlington. And we'll update everybody on the Truck Series as they're just 1 week away from their cut down from 10 drivers to 8 drivers later in the show. But first, let's get to know our guest. We mentioned that it's Kaleb Isenhour. Kaleb, welcome to the show. Start off, we mentioned that you're a recent college graduate. Before the show, you told me that's from Arkansas. Everybody got to see that pretty little Arkansas Razorback paint scheme last night at Daytona. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you majored in, and kind of what you're up to now.
Yeah, I graduated from Arkansas just back in December with a kinesiology degree, or technically it's a Bachelor of Science in Education, but short is just kinesiology. Um, I started out as a business, so I don't really know how I got to kinesiology, but I fell in love with coaching, and so now I'm back down in Texas, about 45 minutes from where I grew up at in Lindale, which is the home of Miranda Lambert, just in case anybody was wondering, and coaching basketball and teaching earth and space science. And so, if anyone thinks I'm not smart, I'm really not. But if you act like you know what you're talking about, then they're going to believe you. So,
All right, and you mentioned that you're starting to coach basketball. Is that something that you played growing up? You mentioned you fell in love with coaching. Is that something that you've always kind of wanted to do? Grew up playing basketball, or did that just kind of happen once you got to college?
yeah, I played a mixture of soccer and basketball growing up. Um, I played a lot of basketball up until about high school. I mean, I played both soccer and basketball, but when I was getting into coaching, I started out coaching soccer, and if anybody knows soccer season is pretty much from December to about March or April, which is basically basketball season. But the difference is one's indoor and one's outdoor, and I really don't like cold weather, so I thought, yeah, basketball it is. And so I've done a lot of internships. I tried to get on as a GA with U of A since they just hired Mike Neighbors, uh, but that didn't work out, and I'm down here in Lindale coaching basketball, and it's a good place to be. And I just, yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I mean, I'm pretty competitive, so I like sports and anything sports. I love pretty much every sport. So
All right, let's talk about your season so far in the Integrity Racing League. You kind of go ahead and grab a swallow of that beer there.
yeah,
You kind of struggled to kind of break through, especially in the Cup Series. You went a long way. You were kind of the bridesmaid a couple of times, never the bride, and then you were finally able to crack through at Watkins Glen. I know that was a big race for you to finally get your win in the Integrity Racing Series. Talk us through your season a little bit and how things have been going both in the Cup Series and the Truck Series.
yeah. All places, my first win comes at Watkins Glen. I think if Busa or Novak or somebody in there that knew what they were doing was in there, they'd lap the field. But that win at Michigan was really big for me to be able to duke it out with Novak and come out on top of that. That was really huge for me. I feel like I let a couple, not necessarily wins slip away, but really good chances at winning slip away. Martinsville comes to mind. I was leading with like 50 to go, and I changed lanes on the restart and got called out and had to pit. And that's the first one and the one that really sticks to me. And then Charlotte, I feel like I was going to be a contender. Just absolutely plowed the wall coming up to, and it's another second place finish. But yeah, I think I finished like 5 or 6 times in second place before I got that first win, and I finally got it. And then I won a second one in a row, and then at Bristol, just made a stupid mistake coming out on the track on the qualifying, started in the back, and then I just wrecked myself there. I think I could have at least contended for second. I don't know if anybody was touching Novak that night, but once he went out, it kind of makes me think, if I stayed in the race and could have gotten up to the front, I could have contended. But overall, it's been a crazy up and down, but lately it's been pretty good season, and I'm looking forward to going into the chase.
All right, and I think it's kind of interesting to hear how everybody kind of got into sim racing. It's kind of a unique hobby that not a lot of people got into. Is racing something that you've always been around, or tell us how you got involved in iRacing and kind of found your way here into the Integrity Racing League?
Um, well, just racing in general. When I was little, my parents used to, before they divorced, they used to take me to TMS in Bristol all the time. And we had season passes at Bristol, and I just remember going there, and it was just like a freaking circus. Um, and I really, up until I was about 12 or 13 years old, I just thought racing was so stupid. I was one of those, they're just going around in circles the whole time, and I didn't like it. Just all of a sudden something clicked, and I just became attached to it. And then my dad grew up in North Carolina. His mom's a Yarborough, and I was telling y'all that's how I'm somehow related to Kelly Yarborough is through my dad's mom's side, and so I thought that was kind of cool. But sim racing wise, I didn't start iRacing until about 2014. I heard about it and everything, but I was really doing like NASCAR. I don't, what is that game called? Like
NASCAR racing.
NASCAR Thunder or something on the PC. It's like 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
And I played that for a while, but you play against computers that suck. It kind of gets boring after a while. There's not really any dynamic track. You're kind of just doing whatever. But anyways, I played that, and when I first started iRacing in 2014, I think the reason I got on it was because I saw Michael McDowell or somebody with that sponsor. I was like, it'd be cool to kind of check it out. And I started out. I didn't have this G27. I had like the steering wheel that came with that NASCAR Thunder game, and it was like quite older than I am, to be honest. And I don't know how I ran on it between that and starting out on my MacBook. You don't know the struggle of life until you've started iRacing on the MacBook, because let me tell you, that is hard stuff.
There's a couple of people in the stream, Adam de Blasio and Eric de Blasio, that definitely know your pain on that one. They've done it.
And they can vouch for you. MacBook, you don't have no force feedback. I mean, you're basically racing with just I don't even know what. It's awful. But eventually got me a monitor, got me a G27, and then I just started. It's amazing what you can do when you get some good equipment underneath you. A couple beers in you.
Did 4 on that one. All right. Well, thanks to.
I'm sorry. I did. Is this PG?
You're not only allowed to drink, you're almost encouraged to drink here on the Integrity Racing
I'm
Show.
Tell you, but I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Get you a couple of sips of the cold one there. But thanks to Kaleb for joining us and pulling himself away from the alcohol a little bit before as we got our interview done.
I swear, Mom, I'm not an alcoholic. This is really my second one this time.
It's fine.
If your mom sees this,
we're in trouble already.
Okay.
Yeah. If she's one of the 14 people that watches this video, we'll be impressed. So, again, thanks to Kaleb for joining us. But let's recap the week that was here in the Integrity Racing League. On Monday night, Jacob, do you have any streamers or any balloons that you want to share to celebrate your first victory of the season?
Yeah, I tried to find something. The closest thing I could find was shotgun shells, and I figured it wouldn't be a good idea to throw those around.
That's a little dangerous.
Yeah, it might be, but I mean, it make for a good show. I enjoyed the race. Obviously, happy to get the win, and glad we were able to bring it home and lock myself into the chase there. So that was good.
All right, so let's go ahead and update everybody. We talked about Jacob leading a race high 39 laps and getting his first victory of the season. William Dunn finishes second. Daniel Holloway third. Josh Campbell and Neil Frolich round out the top 5 in a race that finished under yellow. Alan Pajari was up front all night, kind of bouncing around, and was a factor. He was racing pretty much unlike Pajari up there towards the front to finish 6th. Nick Tierbuck finishes 7th. Chris Schitzler tried to make stuff happen on the high line, never did. He finishes 8th. Eric de Blasio 9th, and Todd Thomas 10th. So he finished under a caution. Jacob Fife gets his first win of the year, and congratulations to Jacob on that one. Let's go ahead and update everybody on the chase grid. Kaleb Isenhour, currently your points leader after we remove Brad Padden, who will not make the minimum number of races to be eligible for the race. So Kaleb Isenhour, currently your points leader with those 2 wins. and that'll be 6 bonus points as we go into the first round. He'll have a 3-point lead in the first round over Adam de Blasio, Guillermo Alvarez, Jacob Fife, Eric de Blasio, myself, and Michael Dole. And then we get to the guys in the point system, and with the removal of Brad Patton, we've actually got a pretty solid little competition here for that final chase spot. Lance Gentle is currently 1 point and only 1 point ahead Kent Weatherall for that final chase spot. Jason K. Miller 16 points back, and Christopher Schissler 21 back as we have 2 races remaining before the chase cutoff. Kaleb, you look at yourself, you're now the points leader, setting yourself up for a good little dash for the championship here starting in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm ready to get started. I hated Brad. It's not going to be able to do it because I know he was definitely going to be one of the biggest challengers in it. You know, he's always hard to race week in and week out, but you know, I'm excited. I'm ready to get started. I think there's going to be, you know, a lot of people going for it. You know, it's a very talented league, and hopefully I'm in one of those final 4. You know, I think Adam will be there. After that, you know, it's everybody's so close. It's just hard to tell who's going to be there, and it just takes one bad week in the chase to get yourself out of it. And kind of worried me because there's one little round that I have questionable tracks at, and so I'm kind of worried about that round. But the other ones I'm pretty confident about. So hopefully, if I get through that and I can make it to Homestead, I feel good to race at Homestead. It's one of my favorite tracks.
All right, and since we have Kaleb here, we want to go ahead and update everybody on the Rookie of the Year standings, as Brad has missed a few weeks. That has dropped him down to 2nd place, and we've got a new front runner there for the Rookie of the Year challenge. Kaleb Isenhour currently with a 24-point lead over Patton, 26 over Cherbuck, and then a pretty sizable gap to the rest of the lead on that standing. So Kaleb, I'm interested to know, were you even considering the Rookie of the Year standings? Was that something that you really set as a goal for yourself, or was it just something that kind of happened as the year went on?
Well, I forgot to mention, this is not my, you know, Jacob probably don't even remember me. Y'all don't probably even remember me, but this is not my first stint with y'all. I did race probably 2 or 3 races with y'all back in, I think it was 2015. I came over here with John Hathaway. You know, I don't know if y'all remember him or not, but I came over here and raced a couple of races, and I just absolutely sucked it up. I don't know if I wrecked. I think I raced or wrecked Fayash, or I can't remember what, but hopefully he doesn't remember that. I do remember that. But no, I didn't. You know, I knew there was going to be a lot of tough rookies in here. You know, Brad, and then all those in-pass drivers. You know, if they raced a full schedule and stuff, obviously they would probably be up there with me, if not ahead of me. But yeah, that's a cool accomplishment considering how tough the competition in this league is, and just how hard it is to win races here and to run consistent.
All right, so let's go ahead and give a few league announcements. The first one is our throwback race coming up here on Monday night at Darlington. We'll mimic the Cup Series, and everybody's encouraged, not required, but encouraged to bring out whatever type of throwback scheme you can bring out. I think the Cup Series is highlighting the late 80s, I think sometime around 1987. So we'll see if everybody can bust out some pretty throwback paint schemes at Darlington. And then also moving forward, Jacob, a couple of announcements about a Discord server and a new broadcast service here for the league.
Yeah, just wanted to. A lot of the guys used it tonight and have kind of started the switch over. We're dropping our TeamSpeak channel. Going to be moving over to a Discord server, which seems to be going pretty well so far. Got a couple of bugs to knock out, but I think for the most part, people are liking it all right. So when Monday night rolls around for the big series, so to speak, make sure you have that set up beforehand and don't go to TeamSpeak because it won't be there. So just keep that in mind. Make sure to take care of that stuff. And then this past Monday night was the last race for Rubbered Up Racing Network to be hosting our broadcasts. So make sure to find the new YouTube channel for American Sim Network, as they will be picking up the last 12 races of the Integrity Racing League, which will be the last 2 races of the regular season, and then the 10 race chase for the championship. We have a couple of sponsors coming up through those 12 races, so you'll be good to see them on the new network. We'll have announcements about one of those very soon, actually. So be looking out for that. We have that for Richmond, and then have a few more within the chase that will be announced a little bit later. And like I said, or as Todd alluded to, we'll be in the throwback schemes, and hopefully we'll see some different stuff come out for that. It doesn't have to be 1987; just get somewhere close to it, and it'll be a good deal. So there's a couple announcements. Still working on some stuff for next year that we kind of alluded to in the Q&A show we did a couple weeks ago, and hopefully they'll be wrapping up those things here in the next couple weeks for some of the bigger stuff, and then it'll be hopefully a flow of information from here to the end of the season.
All right, let's go ahead and transition to the Truck Series and update everybody on the race that just ended a little bit less than a half hour ago. Brandon Six gets a little bit of a caution-filled race with 8 cautions. Six leads a race high 70 laps to get his victory tonight and lock himself into the second round of the Truck Chase Series. So congratulations to Brandon. We'll update the Truck Chase here in just a little bit. Tanner McCullough in his first ever race here with the Integrity Racing League gets the second place. In the Truck Series, James Hudson finishes third. A good, strong finish for Lance Gentles to finish fourth. Maxime Theriault finishes fifth. And then rounding out your top 10 is Greg Trigo, Chuck Tweeding, Chad Dillon with a strong run in eighth. Randy Fayash, very consistent driver, always around that 8th to 10th spot. He keeps plugging along. And then Jim Fife, a very good run for Papa Fife to get a top 10. Kaleb wasn't able to attend, but it looks like, Jacob, you were able to take part in a little bit of a caution field race tonight, unlike the Truck Series, which has been the cleanest series all year. But it sounds like it was a pretty tough setup for the guys out there tonight.
Yeah, I can certainly attest to how difficult the setup was. I had to park it because I had 2 cautions. So it's just really loose, and that's not it's not uncommon for Chicago, but it's looser than I remember it, and it never got tighter. You couldn't really hide from it getting loose, or at least I couldn't anyway. But there were some guys out there who were able to figure it out. Brandon had a dominant truck tonight. I think he made that known. He had a great challenge from Hudson there in the closing laps. It was a great battle to watch. And then you have, like you alluded to, you have people like Papa Fife and Randy there. They had a great battle for 9th and 10th at the end that everybody was watching and cheering for. And they had clean trucks at the end of the night, and some of us who allegedly are more talented couldn't figure out how to do. So, a few more cautions than normal for the Truck Series. But part of that's due to the setup, and part of it's probably due to some overzealousness as we get down to the Truck Series chase. Has one more week left at Loudon, and then we'll be cutting 2 drivers off the list, and I'm not too far from the cut line, so got to get after it.
Speaking of that cut line and Loudon coming up, as we send the Truck Series to Loudon for one last race here in the first round, Guillermo Alvarez is currently on the cut line. Just a 1-point difference between himself and Josh Buckley on who would advance to the next round of the playoffs. Brandon Six is locked in. Drivers like James Hudson, Lance Gentles are probably in pretty good shape. Greg Trigo is probably in solid shape. So is Randy Fayash. So you got a group of about 3 or 4 drivers there in Cody Smith, Jacob Fife, Guillermo Alvarez, and Josh Buckley, who are separated by a grand total of 5 points for those 4 drivers, and only 3 of them will make the playoffs. Somebody will be on the outside looking in next week. Jacob, you're somebody that's packed in there tight, and then we go to a short track to kind of settle it all. What do you look for as you go to Loudon next week when you're somebody that's right on the edge of maybe getting knocked out of the chase?
Hopefully, I look for my car not to be in pit lane when the race is over, and actually finish one of these things. It's been a tough couple weeks in the trucks for me personally, but it's really just finishing. It's putting yourself in position. Personally speaking, I'm fast enough to make it to the next round, but if you look at the drivers who are in that group there's no slouches among them. When you're looking at Guillermo, who's right behind me, Cody, who's just ahead of me, and then Buckley. I mean, none of those guys are guys you can think, oh, okay, well, I should be able to beat them. That'll be one person between me and the cut line, because that's just not the case. Um, so you have to, I have to get up on the wheel, and I expect nothing less from the guys who are around me, and we'll just see how it plays out at Loudon. I know, if memory serves, Cody's pretty good there. I thought he was good there in the Cup car when we were there earlier this year. And obviously, Buckley doesn't race with us in the Cup Series, but I know when with his Truck Series that he runs, or the Monday Night Series he runs, I should say, he's no slouch in there, and neither is he here over with us at Integrity. So it's just gotta play my cards right. Have to be on top of my game. Got to get some practice in, and let the chips fall where they may.
All right, and throwing another wrench in there is that if you looked at those standings, you saw that Matthew Wright was in the 10th spot and 45 points out, but Matt's somebody that definitely, by virtue, he's missed the first 2 races of the playoffs, but he's won 4 of the 9 races I think he's entered this year, something outrageous. So is somebody that could really shake things up if he chooses to show up at Loudon and whoops everybody's butt like he can do. So that'll be a cool little race to maybe check out and see how things settle out in the Truck Series. We'll update that for everybody next week here on the Integrity Racing Show. That's going to wrap it up for us this week. Next week we go to the Cup Series goes to, somebody tell me. Darlington. We just talked about it. Darlington, right? The Cup Series goes to Darlington for the throwback race, and then the Truck Series will wrap up the first round of the playoffs at Loudon. We want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight. We'll be back next week at the same time. We'll update those races. So thanks for joining us, and have a great night, everybody.